I think the Muslim Ummah is we lack purpose, and we have purpose, which is obviously, but we lack awareness of it, and we lack the ability, not the ability, sorry, we've forgotten how this purpose relates to our life and how we can organize our life as affairs. And so when we talk about, for example, corrupt government, it's not because it's just, a roll of the dice, bad luck, we've got a bad leader, right? It's that I always ask this question, like, for example, let's say I take the country Egypt, or I take the country Saudi Arabia, or I take the country Syria. I ask or Turkey, what is the purpose of these countries? What is the purpose of Egypt? What is the purpose of Saudi Arabia, of UAE? What are their purpose? And people say, well, what does that mean? Well, I say, well, because in Islam, the purpose of the political successorship to the Prophet Muhammad, successorship meaning is the word from the Arabic word for translation khilafah, is to worship God and establish God's justice and order and help people by His mercy. With that purpose, with that worldview, with that intention, it's got a world mission, right? It's got a project, a world project. But the Muslim community, the Muslim countries, we lack that world vision, that project. So we're going to establish justice, mercy, build healthcare systems, build scientific research. We should be on the cutting edge of scientific research. But like Turkey, for example, is a good example. So they just thought, okay, experimentally, let's just use this, hydroxychloroquine on patients who do not manifest severe symptoms of COVID-19, as in they haven't reached pneumonia stages just yet, or severe pneumonia stages. Let's see what happens. And they've noted that there actually is positive outcomes. Now, this needs to be peer reviewed. It needs to be obviously more rigorous testing and so on. But what I do see from this, whether it's just a placebo or not, right? Who knows? But what I do see from this is an ardent desire by the government in Turkey to do whatever it can to make available these medicines at its own cost, at cost to itself, to help the people as best as possible, right? Even though it's going to cost them money to use, anti-malarial drugs that they have stockpiled, or, and that hydroxychloroquine being one example of that. And that's what we need. We need, Muslim governments, which they have a purpose behind it. I'm not saying that Turkey is an Islamic government. I'm just saying that Turkey demonstrates that it's possible to have, at least on some level, I'm not saying the Turkish government is perfect and at all or Islamic. I'm merely pointing out that you see these glimmers of possibility, these small glimmers of possibility within the Muslim world, things that can be achieved when we have purpose, when we are driven to actually say, you know what? Instead of just reacting to events as they come, let's plan ahead. Let's think, hey, maybe we actually need to have a self-sufficient industrial base. Instead of just sending our oil, natural resources to the West, well, at cheap price, by the way, and then buying expensive technology that they produce, and then making that the main source of our acquisition of industrial products, how about we build the industry ourselves? One thing that I believe Lenin and Stalin, even though they were, very nasty individuals, Stalin was very much so. But one of this trait of self-independence, right? They said that we're not going to import tractors from Europe until we can make it ourselves, and therefore not needing to make tractors. This desire to kind of have motivated by purpose, we lack that. And therefore, the purpose of our governments is really just to exist. And of course, if it's just to exist, they're going to look at the situation as, well, how do we manage the economy in a way that benefits our regime and strengthens it by propping up those people who are our supporters in the army and in government and judges and blah, blah. They'll just focus on paying themselves and their supporters, because for them, stability is the only concern, right? And whenever Muslims discuss politics in the Middle East, predominantly the main discussion is stability. But what they're really saying is, we want everything to be exactly the same as it is and not change. Whereas in our past, it wasn't stability that they were looking at. It was looking at as, how do we achieve the objective that the creator of the universe mandated on us to achieve as a collective civilization.
Do I feel that the New York police are providing enough protection, or do I have to have protection of my own? I look for protection from Allah.